Hey people, it's me again. So, anyways, my nose is all running now. It's kind of funny as far as how I'm kind of like getting very close to my birthday. And I always usually do these kind of wrap up kind of things, as far as for me to to see like what the highlights were as far as from the previous birthday to the next birthday, so as far as I could say goes with like the last birthday and then compared to this birthday, I think I did kind of have a lot of fun as far as like the between the last birthday and this birthday. And anyways, it's been like a year since I've started up the two new channels, the Mr. Rukage and Mr. Rukage 99 channels. On account of my old channel, Rukage had gone under, and I don't know if it's ever going to really come back at any point. I've been filing all these little appeals to so many times, but I don't know if that was ever going to really happen as far as if I get them back or not. But this was it was kind of like maybe a little bit too little too late as far as that goes with the strikes, where this was before where they had the appeal system there. And in some ways, when I was trying to go over and talk to somebody to try to get help, it seemed like, yeah, we heard the same thing, blah, 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 blah. It's almost like they wouldn't accept the fact that the whole flagging system could be open to abuse as far as that matter goes. So, they did having to go on and on and on about that sort of thing, So, anyways, as I was kind of seeing as far as like with my personal life goes, around that time I think I was having all these different things going on, where it was kind of the strange thing as far as last year where I managed to hook up every month with some chub, with some chub or bear, and it was like about before my birthday, I think that was, yeah, it was, I would say it was from, all the way from February to probably like November, I think, when I did that. Except there was just that maybe I almost did it as far as in October, but then other than that, everything else was over. That I did it so many times, But as I could say, it was during that course. I think I did it as far as the entire year from then on, from like my birthday then on, I pretty much did it, or even before that, from like the entire year that I did it with for at least 3 times that year. And then with Tamling 2 times, and then everybody else it was like 1 time. And except for maybe like Robbie, that it was like the second time that I kind of did it, even though it been like a really long time that I had actually hooked up with him that way, And then I think I did kind of gone all the way with some of the other ones at some point, but not all the way with some of the other ones, but I have to kind of say it was, as far as like my birthday present that year, was actually Israel. And then I think in this kind of case, that would be like the same thing that I kind of want for this year. That is not necessarily like any kind of material thing now. And that's merely this year it's Drew, that I kind of wanted to see him again, I mean, in spite of how I had this sort of drama with him for the past 3 months, But as I probably could tell you, is just in spite of all that little petty drama, it just seemed like that those feelings for him, it never seemed to diminish, entirely. It seemed like it went down a little bit, and then all of a sudden it starts to go right back up again. And then I think, as far as what I kind of was saying so many times before, that when I analyzed the whole behavior with him the last time he was here, in March, that he seemed like he was acting like he was like he really wanted me, but yet it just wouldn't really admit it right now at some point. I mean, he wouldn't really admit it right now, or it just wasn't really emotionally ready to accept those sort of feelings, I guess. That he was clearly understanding his feelings there. I mean, the way he said he was seeing someone else, but that there was no real proof of a boyfriend. If he had, he would have posted some sort of pictures of the guy, but no, there was never really were pictures, And then even if I probably would have found out some sort of pictures there, I would have found out that basically that person was just merely was a friend to him, and that was it. And then he was just making him pose as a boyfriend at some point, And in some ways, I could say that maybe that was the case with Ricky back then, back in 05 and 06, at the time when he was going off with somebody, that maybe he was never really was dating anyone at that point, and he was just making himself look like he's unavailable. So he just simply just wanted me to give him his space for a while instead. So that's probably what I'm guessing here with Drew now, that he just wanted his little space for a while because maybe he needed to really think it hard about me, because I'm probably a little bit complex than the most guys that he knows and probably had dated, and to a certain extent at the time, I mean, there might have been somebody else that he might have thought he might have liked. I don't really remember the exact story there, but it's sometimes I just wish he would have been a little bit more opened up to me about that. But I think I was just really referring to as like these little tweets and MySpace updates that he had at the end of the year about how he was moping about breaking up with somebody, and I don't think it had anything to do with me, because at that time when he was making those tweets, everything with me was fine. But unless that was the case with me now, unless that was the whole point, because if he just wanted to let go of me at that point, he would have made it very clear at that point. But then, however, it seemed like he just doesn't know what he really wants to do with me, I guess. So it's like either way, I had to kind of pull away from him and just leave it at that. That I'm just not interested. That I'm just not interested in this little drama there, and that he can just come back when he's ready to go to have something more serious with me. I mean, it's always open to have something more serious at this point, because at any point with any of these guys that are like friends or friends with benefits, I have to kind of leave this sort of option of wanting something more than serious there, because of the fact that it just naturally happens for somebody to develop some sort of feelings beyond that. When it's just all it is just sex at some point. But there's always going to be like option to that. I've always kind of think that maybe if it was somebody that didn't want to have anything further than that, and then I would just simply wanted to, because I was already in kind of that much control to at least to separate these kind of feelings there. That all that is just not going to be love or anything that I'm going to get out of that kind of relationship there. And then I feel like I would probably pull away from it completely for the fact that if they kind of changed their mind at the end, or at least pull away for a while if they were changing their mind, but or at least just to pull away for a while to kind of at least allow some sort of space to adjust to that if they wanted to have something more serious and more of a lines of a romantic relationship there. I think that was kind of the whole point where I'm going wrong with Drew or Ricky at that time, But I think as far as with my relationship with Ricky at that time, that I think he didn't really mind that the most that I was going to have with him was just sex, The only person that basically minded at all was Dad, But I think it was just simply because Dad just didn't quite understand the fact that nowadays you can have your cake and eat it too. That you can just simply solely have sex and not have anything in return, for that matter. Than opposed to just simply promising more than just that when you don't really intend to promise anything more. I think that's sort of the case with that, but I think it's just nowadays how it is with any kind of relationship now. I think if it had happened in the past with such things, with like my mom's old boyfriend a few years ago, he probably would have opted for that sort of kind of relationship with Mom or any of those other girls that there at that time. If it didn't matter to her that all he was going to get was just sex and that was it, and because he couldn't really make up his mind about what he wanted to do with Mom and what he wants, that sort of case there, but honestly, he just was attracted to Mom in that sort of case. But I hate having to go around and talk about that kind of stuff there. So, especially if it was on YouTube and on other places. Even though I always like hearing those kind of stories about my mom's old boyfriends, or but then not that it would make any difference with Dad, because then it's not like that Dad had ever really told any stories about his old girlfriends before Mom. Although he said he had maybe had one or two serious girlfriends before he started dating Mom, and then eventually married Mom. And similar with Mom, Mom had at least one real serious boyfriend, and all the other boyfriends that Mom had were just not really that serious at all. They were just simply rebounders or placeholder guys as far as that goes. But I guess I could say as far as with like before Ricky, there was also, of course, Eloy Zata I've already had mentioned before. But I never really mentioned the guys before them. There was like at least two, maybe three of them. I think there was that guy, John, and I probably had talked to a couple times, but I think I kind of realized maybe it wasn't going to work out because he lived far away, and then I think I just simply forgot about him. But then he was also bi, but I think he was about like a year or two younger than me, But as I could probably say with not just John. There was this other guy. I think his name was Eric, but I think I could have liked him maybe as a friend, but I was just probably confused a little bit. And then I think I just decided that at the end, maybe just to have him as a friend, even though I think I might have just come off a little bit too strong, and I think I was just a little bit confused about everything. And then I think it was the same way with Nick, that I kind of came off a little bit too strong, but then I realized I was just not really feeling it there. That I felt an attraction to them, but I probably wanted to get to know them a little more than a friend first. So it seems like it was kind of right around the time when I was already on the verge of coming out when I met those three. And I think it was right when I met Hila. That was right when I finally came out to Mom, to myself. Then it was eventually a little bit later on. It was Dad and Corey, and then eventually Ryan at some point, and all the other family members. I think as far as by now, it's everybody knows as far as that goes at some point. But I don't know as far as what's going to happen with all the other family members. But as I could say, it was with all the other stuff there, that now I'm already turning 30, but it's also the fact that it would be kind of around the middle of August when I finally came out to myself. And so that was, I don't really remember exactly which day it was, but I know it was before the school started, and it was probably, I think it was probably, it could be my mom's birthday or my brother's birthday, or maybe it was the day in between their birthdays, which would be the day after my brother's birthday or the day before my mom's birthday. And that might have been the day that I might have actually came out to myself in a way. When I finally said I'm gay to myself, and then nothing really happened. It was almost there was a load lifted off my shoulders as far as that goes when I finally said I'm gay to myself. And I think the funny thing, it seemed from that point on, from when I said I'm gay to myself, and then that whole 4 months was when I finally took in myself to be more comfortable with my own orientation, and then for everybody else to be a little bit more comfortable with it. But at that same time, I think I was also developing a little bit of a crush on Eloy, so I never really mentioned a whole lot of how that relationship with Eloy came to be. So I would probably have to go around to do this sort of thing right now, because I never had mentioned it before about that relationship with Eloy. So it was kind of about a couple weeks after I kind of came out to myself, and then I was already had this bad teacher. I think her name was Mrs. Katanga. She was this the remedial writing teacher, And at that time, the school, the colleges in Texas had this task where, regardless of if you didn't pass your SATs and all that you had to take these kind of math classes or English classes there, and which kind of basically got in the way of people who are wanting to study other things. They didn't necessarily needed to go around and study math or English and all that when they're basically majoring in something else, like science or computer technology or computer graphics or whatnot. They don't really need to be studying something like that and have their time wasted on things like that. So, anyways, as I was kind of saying with Ms. Katanga, Mrs. Katanga, I would say it's just that I think her class wasn't really that great, to tell the truth. And I think her lesson presentation in a way was kind of boring, almost like she made me kind of fell asleep in that class. And then I think I had a little bit of run-ins with her and ended up eventually breaking down at some point, and I had to talk to I had to talk to this woman, Shelly, who has like the same job as like Lori and Steve, like my teachers there with the adult transition, and then she kind of had the same kind of job in a way that where she advises all the kids with disabilities as far as their educational and career goals in some cases there. And although I did make one friend in that one class, I think her name was Daisy, but I hadn't really taught to her in a long time, but she was deaf, and so there were a few times I had to at least taught to her with her interpreter. Although I did could sign to her a little bit, about a few things, but however, I just kind of lost contact with her then. But I was also taking this one intro to computer graphics class, or intro to multimedia class, was that one teacher named Dane, and so he wasn't really that bad. I think he was a pretty good teacher, to tell the truth. And that's just how I learned about like the whole Autodesk soft image, or soft image exercise at the time. And so anyways, the other thing that I was going to mention, besides that class there, was not only Autodesk soft image, but also like the Photoshop at that time, and whatever version of Photoshop that was available, and all this other stuff there. So, and then I was also taking this sort of this word processing class with one teacher at the computer lab, and I think I kind of realized I didn't like the class that much there, and I was going to drop that one class after I dropped the whole Miss Katanga's class, but I think not without giving her a piece of my mind, which kind of caused a little bit of a rift with me and Shelly that afterwards. I didn't tell Dad or Mom about that sort of thing until a little bit a few years later, so it didn't really matter then. But at that time, I think I was still kind of talking to Todd at some point, but it wasn't until like at the end of '03 when I kind of stopped, when I lost contact with Todd. And as I part of it had mentioned to people, is that Todd was actually my best friend through 8th grade all the way to that time. So that would have been from 95 all the way to '03. So that would have been that entire 8 years. So as I was kind of saying, as far as with Todd, is that he just kind of like moved here back in that time, and I was kind of one of the first few friends that he had, But that also kind of caused like a rift with a friend and a neighbor across the street, now a neighbor next to me at the time, that I think he just didn't like Todd that much, I don't know, but I think if in some ways I could have just salvaged that sort of friendship and also be friends with him at the same time instead. So that kind of caused a lot of problems during high school at that point. And a lot of other things, so I digress. So, anyways, it wasn't until after that was when they had the whole club rush. And then as you guys probably know about, like, the club rushes where all the different school clubs are all out in the quad or out in the what I call, like, the block as far as North Lake. It's just like this little area where on the lowest, I think it's like the second floor, because like when you come in to North Lake, it's like you're on the fourth floor, then you have to go down another floor to the second floor, to the third floor, then the second floor, and then there's a floor that goes below that. So, anyways, that part where they have all the different buildings are all close together, and they're all connected through the hallway like this, and they all go like this, and then that's what I call, like, the block where they're all connected all together, and that's where they have the whole club rush. And then there was like the whole Glade at the time. I don't know if it still exists, but I'm pretty sure it still exists. As now, but it's just completely different people running the club now. But as I could say, there, it was the first person I talked to was actually Josh. And then there was also Kat, who I also talked to at the time. I haven't really talked to her in 6 years there, and she's like living in Wisconsin with her girlfriend. I don't know if she's still living there, but that's the last time I checked with her. So, as I could say, as far as with that goes, I talked to all of them, and then it was like the first time I actually got there to school on my own during the afternoons, and then it was like the first meeting. The first meeting was when I met Eloy, and I don't know. I think I was just attracted to him very instantly, but at the same time, I was kind of also still wanting to start something with that guy Nick at that time. But then it was like later on, I think I kind of conceded that maybe there was just nothing was going to happen with Nick, and that maybe it was just better off with him as friends. And in a way, I think I had like a falling out with him around the time when I was breaking up with Eloy. So I kind of had that sort of falling out with him at that point. So I guess I probably have to say about that. So, but I don't think it would have really made any real difference in him there, because I don't think it would have really made many difference there with him than compared to with Eloy, But I think as far as that goes, I thought maybe there wasn't really something there with Eloy, but it wasn't until like the next week when he came over to then, and then I kind of realized that there was one thing that I actually had in common with Eloy, that his mom worked at the same place as my mom did. And then, okay, this is going to sound a little bit funny there. The reaction that I think he kind of felt like, like I was big this, and then when I finally like revealed it to him, he was like, interesting, But I don't know. I think it took me like about a couple weeks for me to finally reveal that crush, and it wasn't until after a while that maybe I kind of told Eloy at that time that maybe I just didn't know how to say it to him at the time. That maybe that I wasn't really looking for anything serious with him. and then my real intentions were just to kind of hang out and maybe possibly have something casual with him, and maybe possibly something sexual with him at that point. I don't know how good he would have been if I ever got to spend time with him, but it was always simply Mom was on my back the entire time, you know. And then around the time when I was crushing on him, there was probably some obvious sexual tension between me and Josh in early on, and there might have been some sort of attraction with both me and him in some cases, even though he was dating somebody else at the time, But it wasn't until Josh had gotten free from that relationship, because he was like taking a break from that boyfriend of his at the time, supposedly, when he broke up with him. And then it was right around that time, that was when I was developing feelings for Josh. And so that kind of complicated the matter further, of having all these feelings for him, as well as having some feelings for you, Lloyd. But I think when, in hindsight, it seemed like that my attraction to Eloy was purely a physical and sexual attraction, and my attraction to Josh was purely a mental and emotional attraction. And then I couldn't really just decipher which was better. I kind of wanted to have all four in just one person, rather than just have it like split between two people like that. Then even if I had gotten either one of them, it wouldn't even matter, because I was really intent on staying there in Dallas for the time being, for a couple of weeks or months, because I just wanted things around here to cool off for a while, but I finally did cool off. It was just all these other little family problems there. So, anyways, the next part was, besides Eloy and Josh there, I think I might have also had a little bit of an attraction to, I think it was one of the girls, Ashley's friend. I keep forgetting his name. I think his name was like Manny or Marco or something like that, but he was kind of a short, chubby Latino guy as well. But I figured in a way that I was also attracted to Eloy, because he was kind of a little chubby at the time, and he might have been a couple pounds over, like 5 or 10 pounds overweight at that time, 10 or maybe 15, give or take, I don't know. So, anyways, and then there was all these other little things that were going on as far as with the live journal and stuff around that time. So, I think as far as with the start of 05, I think I was starting to have this sort of thing in question, and then as far as I had a whole attraction with both of them, I think maybe, and in some ways that we were kind of planning on going back home at some point, and I think I probably would have had to end that sort of relationship with Eloy and Josh anyways at that point, because I couldn't have either one of them. So, anyways, as I was also seeing that not just the whole problems with them, but at the time I also had like a friend, Trevor, that was a friend during the time when I was in the whole adult transition. He was like only there for about a year because he was going to be graduating there. And then usually with the adult transition, they were only there for like you're only there for 4 years from 18 to 22 in a way. So he was already like turning 22 and starting to leave the whole adult transition at that time, and that was back in 2000. So, although I did talk to him in some cases, but in some ways, he would call me all the time, like every single day sometimes, and I think I had to go on the phone and tell him that I kind of only wanted to talk to him every once in a while, like once or twice a week, and or just like how I do with Todd, But I don't know. I think everything was kind of fine with Trevor for a while, until I think it was 2004. I think when I had a little bit of falling out with him, and I think I was probably drifting apart from him, anyways, at some point, And I don't know. Maybe I think he just had a hard time trying to understand that the guy he knew is not really the guy he knew, and that the real me being gay is something else, and that it was just hard for him to understand that sort of thing. And I think I had felt upset with him the entire time with this whole falling out until it was like about a year after, and then I think I didn't stop. I think I stopped talking to him until it was like about at least. It was kind of like around March or May of '06 was like the last time I talked to him. And then, I don't know what as far as happened with Todd, to tell the truth. But although I figured maybe sometime maybe I could try to just stop by unannounced, I guess. Not that I really should go around and do that, but it's really hard for him to get his attention in some ways because I've been leaving all these messages on his answering machine, for I don't know how long. I don't really remember his his mobile phone number at some point, But as I could say, as far as with him, I don't know if I could ever really talk to him just yet. But so, anyways, as I was kind of saying, so that's just a lot of the whole things that have been changing around here. So, if you're kind of wondering as far as why I'm not wearing my watch, it's just that the battery died on that watch, and I'm in the process of getting a new one at some point. I have to kind of wait for somebody to go and take care of that at some point in time. But the last watch battery kind of lasted for 4 years. 6 years. Now that I'm beginning to think about it, it was 6 years because the battery for that watch was put in around May of it was May of '05. It didn't last up until now. That which is kind of strange in a way. So there was like a lot of things that had changed in there, in the past 6 years, that back then I was like trying to get over Eloy. Back then I had that old Nokia phone, that old Nokia 3390 phone. Back then I was still a virgin. I hate having to say that. But then, like as I said before, it's just that I'm a late bloomer because of the whole Asperger's in a way. And then the fact that there's just some people that have a hard time trying to understand that in some cases. And I have to go and exert myself so much emotionally and physically and mentally to get someone to understand. And I get a little frustrated with some things. So... But now it seems like with me now, it's like I've done it so many times that I've pretty much lost count now. Yeah, and then not only that, I'd probably have somebody that I could probably, at least some people that I could probably spend time with on occasion, as far as just in that matter, as I already had mentioned there long ago, but a lot of other stuff that has happened, so anyways, I hate having to cut this sort of thing there, so see you guys next time.